Right now, somewhere, someone is starting their 200th rewatch of The Office instead of anything new. Meanwhile, a stack of brand new, critically acclaimed shows just sits there in the queue, completely untouched. That's not a broken attention span, and it's definitely not laziness. It's something far more deliberate. Scientists have actually studied this exact habit, and what they found rewrites how you'll think about your remote control. Turns out your brain treats a rewatch completely differently than a first watch, starting from the very first second. Every time you watch something brand new, your brain is working overtime, quietly guessing what happens next. That constant guessing is called prediction, and prediction burns real mental fuel, scene after scene, twist after twist. But you already know exactly what Michael Scott is about to say at that meeting, don't you? So your brain isn't predicting anymore, it's just confirming. And confirming feels genuinely, deeply relaxing. Neuroscientists call this a drop in cognitive load, and a drop in cognitive load is basically a mental vacation. You get all the emotional payoff of the story with almost none of the effort of actually processing it. That's exactly why a rerun can feel more soothing than watching a brand new episode of that very same show. Here's where it gets strange. Your favorite show might be acting like an actual friend inside your head. Psychologists at the University at Buffalo ran an experiment on people who'd just been rejected or left out. They had those rejected volunteers write in detail about their all-time favorite TV show, like catching up with an old friend. That simple writing exercise measurably repaired their damaged sense of belonging, as if a real friend had shown up. Researchers named it the social surrogacy hypothesis, fictional relationships that genuinely substitute for real human ones. So when you rewatch Friends after a rough day, some part of your brain is just going home. Kevin's friends spent weeks convincing him to finally try one new, universally beloved show. He quit in episode 2, didn't know who to root for yet, and nobody's expected better from Kevin in years. There's a deeper reason for all this, and it shows up most in people who are running on empty. Marketing researchers studying people who deliberately rewatch the same movies gave the habit an actual scientific name. They called it volitional reconsumption, choosing the exact same story again, entirely on purpose, not by accident. People under real psychological strain reached for familiar stories specifically to recover their depleted willpower. A brand new plot demands fresh decisions and fresh emotions, and a depleted brain has none of that left to spend. A rewatch demands nothing at all, which is precisely why it works when you're running on fumes. Then there's the emotional layer, and it reaches back further, to the person you were the first time you watched it. Psychologists have shown nostalgia isn't just sentimental fog, it's an actual coping tool your brain deploys under threat. One landmark study found that feeling lonely or low actually triggers nostalgic memory all on its own. And that nostalgic memory pushes right back, boosting mood, boosting connection, almost like an emotional reflex. So rewatching a show from your childhood isn't just comfort, it's your brain reaching for a proven specific antidote. This isn't some rare quirk either. During the pandemic, comfort rewatches spiked across every major streaming platform. The Office was Netflix's single most rewatched show for years running, an old sitcom outpacing nearly everything brand new. Friends, The Office, Parks and Recreation, the most repeated shows on Earth all share one very specific thing. Low stakes, familiar faces, and a guaranteed happy ending. That's the actual formula, every single time. You're not choosing them because they're the greatest television ever made. You're choosing them because they're the safest. Even the dopamine hit works backwards here. Correctly guessing what's coming still releases its own small reward. It's the same mechanism that makes a familiar song's chorus feel good right before the chorus even hits. Your brain isn't bored by knowing the ending. It's quietly savoring the fact that it called it again. So the next time you waste a night on an episode you've seen a dozen times, here's the truth. You're not wasting it at all. You're doing focused, deliberate psychological repair work entirely on purpose. The show you can't quit isn't a guilty pleasure. It's a tool you quietly built for exactly this moment. There's a reason nobody calls it a show anymore. We call it my show, like it actually belongs to us. And in every way that matters to a tired, overworked brain, it kinda does. The writer G.K. Chesterton once imagined God saying, "Do it again," to the sun, every single morning without fail. Grown-ups get bored of repetition, he said, but maybe some part of us never really outgrows loving it. Your 200th rewatch was never a rut. It's the oldest, quietest joy people have ever had. It's just running on repeat. And some things were always worth watching again.